Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Westernport home court here, the Steeler Dome down in Somerville, Victoria. It's Andrew Seabrook from Falcons TV with you, and Will Taylor from Smash FM. So welcome, Will. You've just made it down from the WNBL game at the State Basketball Centre between the Melbourne Boomers and West Coast Waves.
I certainly did, Andrew. What a game it was, actually, Andrew. I saw down there. And let's hope tonight be a very great game, of course. Very special. Good evening to all our listeners out there, and, of course, all our viewers, of course, streaming this live on Falcons TV as well. We're at the Steeler Dome, and, of course, the big match here, of course, both teams about to be introduced to the crowd here, and it should be a good game today. Of course, for our listeners and, of course, our viewers out there who didn't get to catch that result from the WNBL game earlier today at the State Basketball Centre, was the Melbourne Boomers winning by 3 points against the West Coast Waves. In a great game it was. The score was 87-84 in favour of the Melbourne Boomers over the West Coast Waves at the State Basketball Centre. But so we're about to get set and underway in today's game. But Andrew, it should be an interesting game. It is second v third on the ladder. The Westernport Steelers, after last week's, well, let's face it, probably one of their worst games of the season. They blew a 20-point lead at half-time to lose that game. And, of course, Sale, they're in second position. He's on a bit of red-hot form at the moment. Yeah, the Steelers lost their composure quite a lot during that game. They really, it wasn't the case that the other team came up and took it off them. It was really that they were allowed to get back into the game, and then again, you know, losing 4 of their starters on 5 fouls really wasn't the thing that their coach would have wanted to see at all. So. Absolutely, and of course, and look, let's see how the boys go today, of course, obviously, and also about the slow rotations, which was a big key that helped Moe beat, as it wasn't Moe, Churchill to defeat Westernport last week.
Yeah, it just added to the you know, the discomfort, I suppose, that the Steelers were feeling, and played into Churchill's, that's right, the Blue Angels' hands. So,
and so we've now got the national anthem. Of course, that's the amazing Australian National Anthem, of course, just being played here at the Steeler Dome. Well, last week was mentioned about the Westernport game against Churchill, which Churchill won 97-90 on the back of a 36-27 last quarter, or so overtime as well, last quarter and in OT. And last week, Sale defeated Traralgon by 8 points after being behind themselves in that game. But as true ladder leaders do, they do come back and put themselves in a very nice position. Of course, Sale in second position, Westernport third. But the team they have to chase at the moment currently is Warragul. And Andrew, we're looking at that ladder right now, and look, it's pretty tight. And for Westernport, if they lose today's game, and if Churchill and Moe win this weekend, they're going to be outside that top 4.
Yeah, they certainly are. It's going to be interesting because this is the first chance I've had to have a look at the Sonics. It'll be interesting to see how they actually go, because none of the guys, I'm not familiar with any of their players at all. Have you seen them play before?
No, I haven't. This is my first time as well seeing the Seattle. Got to get used to not saying Seattle Sonics like I did in the promo in the WNBL earlier today. It's the Seattle Sonics, of course, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see because I'm having a look here at the scores from last week's game for sale, and a name called Billy Hughes last week. Out of Sale's 87 points last week, he scored 40 of them. So, and Billy Hughes is just having a look, number 4 today in the lineup. So it'd be interesting. I'm looking at Billy Hughes now on the court, Andrew, and I think he's playing a point guard. It's either a shooting guard or even a forward for Sale Sonics, and you've got a couple of the stats there. So you did have the stats. There we go, out there, and having a look at that at the moment. The points per game. Billy Hughes currently at 22.14 points per game, leading all comers. So there is a decent amount.
See how they actually go along the way.
Absolutely, and looking at here at the moment, of course, Westernport are the best attacking team, and Sale, funny enough, they have the best defensive team in the competition. So, the second best defensive team other than Warrigal. So, it's attack, beat, defence at the moment, and I know, being in basketball myself, that the defence will bring you over the line in most cases.
Yeah, it certainly does. And again, as a coach, that's the thing that you're trying to they're wanting to get it into Granger's hands there as quickly as they can. And it's quite a good idea to take the time out to just reinforce that it has to be a catch and shoot, that they don't have it. I made the mistake on Friday night with my team that we were in the same situation. I didn't call the timeout, expecting the girls to understand that, and of course, first person that caught the ball started dribbling, and we missed it. So again, as a coach, you want to sometimes just simply just get in there in the players' ears and just remind them that they need to be very careful about how they. Line and then and sprint out to the
absolutely
out to the outside line. They got it to the right person. They just didn't get it to the right at the right place, and his player was able to cover that three-point attempt, forcing him to drive, and of course too deep, only hit the side of the ring. So
absolutely. Well, the Steelers have gone out a little early, of course. WNBL action, of course, already been played today. Of course, there's a couple games tonight, of course. Bendigo defeated Sydney by 11 points. Dandenong back in their winning ways. Penny Taylor doing the job there. 17-point win over West Coast. And unfortunately, in the game I was out at in OT, it was Melbourne by 3 over West Coast.
But you know, look, you have to hand it to West Coast. They have really got the monkey off their back now. They know that they can play, and I think they were sitting fourth or fifth on the ladder before this round.
Correct.
They'll drop down a bit because of the two losses, but they are a very competitive squad. And in fact, I was talking to Andy Sherwell about the win at Dandenong, and he said they really played extremely well. They found it very difficult to stop them.
So, of course, Tomlinson out for a couple of weeks with an ankle injury, which he sustained against Dandenong last night. do you see the first half?
Oh, a much better game from the Steelers than last week. Certainly a lot more composure there as well. And they haven't got into the foul trouble that they did. Both quarters last week they were in the bonus, so they haven't given that away. But again, some really periods there where they really didn't use their heads. They tried to force the ball through too quickly, or sometimes when they had good options on the outside, a couple of players decided to try and take on 2 or 3 of the Sonics defenders, and it didn't come up. So they've got to watch their foul count. Simple fouls and so on. For the Sonics, again, got out to they got themselves into trouble, I should say, in that first quarter. I think it was an 8-point difference.
8 points, yep.
8-point difference at quarter time, and they've just worked their way back into the game. Let it stretch out again to 5 points, but they're right in this game. They should certainly feel comfortable that they can come back on it as well.
And it's funny because Sal last week, their second quarter let them down last week, but lucky it didn't cost them in the game last weekend. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Now, last week I was saying about of course in the Big B, and I mentioned that especially in state champ women, and of course it is confirmed that the Southern Peninsula Sharks are in state champ women. That is confirmed.
Oh, that's going to be a fantastic. That's going to be a fantastic thing for the competition. It I think it increases the league to 13 teams. 11 or 13 teams. Something like
11, I think it is.
Yep. But that should certainly bring in some interesting new dynamics into the league. They have a well-credentialed imports from New Zealand.
Yep.
And I believe they're searching for a second import to go along with her as well.
Correct.
So.
Which I also picked up one of their leading Division 1 women's scorer, which is actually a Melbourne Boomers development player, Michaela Dixon, during the week. So another good pickup. Of course, Michaela Dixon is from the Warragul area. Of course, played at the Warragul Warriors in the CBL, and of course, only played one game this season so far.
Yep.
And of course, one of the lean scorers in Latrobe City in that fantastic run they did have throughout the year. Now, you got the Westernport Steelers stats up here for the season, and Granger's doing pretty well. 15.11 points per game. Was Warrandyte, unfortunately for them, they had to farewell a lot of players, but in state champ women. But they've picked up 2 very great stars in Margaret Kershaw, and the other players just escaped me here. Of course, a former Bulleen player in Rebecca Alamed, of course, joining the team at the Venom, of course, in state champ women with tomorrow night's been Rachel Warnsburg, Tiffany Hosden, Beck Jane, Casey Taylor, all not in the state champ women's team next year for Warrandyte. So Warrandyte might struggle this year.
Yeah, they of course came up last season from Division 1, which proved to be a fairly big ask for them. But they were competitive at the bottom end of the state champ women's division. Waverley, the news out of Waverley is that Elias is quite comfortable with his current lineup.
Yep.
And they're looking to augment the youngsters. Of course, Waverley having gone to a youth policy a couple of seasons ago and trying to bring on a lot of the native juniors as well. They're staying there with Tegan Cunningham, who's going to be back again. And
Great
they're looking. Mike Bullock, the general manager, was telling me that they're talking to another big, and they're hoping to have some news within the next week or so on that.
Well, talking about the men's.
Talking about the men's
for the Falcons.
It's the return of the Chris Cameron.
Yes, great news.
It is. Last time Chris played for a couple of seasons a number of years ago before going to Nunawading and playing in their CBL team. But his family situation has changed a little bit, and he's indicated that he wants to limit the amount of travel that he does, which of course is one of the driving factors behind players choosing to play Big V.
And sorry, you keep going.
You know, they travel requirements in CBL can be quite draining. And yeah, so he's moved back, and there's also, I believe, another signing on its way as well.
But Chris Cameron also brought with him Jason Turov and Nathan Kenny, also from Nunawading.
There you go. So that's right. That's the Jason Todorov was, of course, the thing. So I think Coach Andy Sherwell is going to be running with a squad of 12 this season.
Okay.
Last season it was just 10, but I think he's decided he'll
need that depth.
Yeah, and it means too that for some of the slightly older players. That in the double headers they can actually take take more of a back seat.
Yep.
In one of the games, and they're not going to be having to rely on the getting the older guys to play extended minutes. So good news is that Adrian Campbell's also re-signed.
Yep.
He's going to go around again, as is Sadal Threat as well. So
junior, that is, for everyone playing at home.
Yeah. So again, Waverley, expect Waverley to be in the mix, along with Corio Bay, who are still in the process of finalising their squad.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got their two main imports still playing or not.
The last thing I heard was that they were still waiting to announce who their imports were.
Okay.
Certainly one of them won't be there.
Yep.
And of course, Ringwood, the reigning champions, has bolstered their squad as well.
Yes, correct.
So they've had a couple of people leave, but and again, Kenny hasn't announced the imports. Although on the girls' side, Tim Motton has re-signed Amber Higgy.
Yes, he did. Good signing, and of course, with Michelle not playing, of course, they've signed a very good play coming out of the college system for Ringwood as well, which we'll announce that very shortly. But just going back to the Falcons in state champ, man, I also picked up a young great player, of course, playing in the member of the under-19 Australian team in Bryce Arnott. Of course, coming from Bundaberg in the QBL last season. Yeah,
and I haven't seen him play. I don't know whether he's down in Melbourne at the moment. But the Falcons, like a lot of the other teams, are now starting to get back into their pre-season training in a big way. So maybe this week, this Tuesday, I'll actually see the guys on the court there.
Absolutely.
as well.
Now, just going back to the WNBL, 2:26 remain in the first, and Andrew, you said that LA need a win. Well, they're trailing by 16, 18-2. Well,
I'm stumped. I am absolutely gobsmacked. Look, this is, you know, Adelaide is a very, very proud town when it comes to its basketball, and I'm afraid they're not getting a lot of joy out of either the men's or the women's teams at the moment.
correct. Of course, the men's, and well, just make things worse, Andrew, it's 21-2 now with 2 minutes to go in that game. Of course, for the 36ers, they lost by 12 points after giving up a 5-point quarter-time lead in that game.
That was to the Crocodiles.
To the Crocs up in the far north.
Yep, so I think they're playing the Taipans today, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So, danger sign written all over it now for the Adelaide basketball in general.
Yeah, both teams languishing down the bottom of the men's competition's been very interesting because it's almost a reverse of last year, you know, and a mirror image of, oh, not a mirror image, but a carbon copy of the year before.
Absolutely.
You know, Wollongong on the bottom, and Adelaide fighting with Wollongong for the wooden spoon.
Correct. So underway in the third. We'll keep you updated with the Bendigo Adelaide game as it rolls on. 38-33 in this game. Oh, and the fastest North
And we'll be back there.
Yeah, Ben, absolutely. So 68-61, and Andrew, if I was an Adelaide supporter right now, I would just plug my ears just for a second, because it is Bendigo 38, Adelaide 14, 3:39 remain in the second.
14 points at WNBL level in a half. That is atrocious.
Well, and guess what? Belinda's now has 13 for Bendigo out of, and she's almost been Adelaide all by herself. Belinda's now with 13 points at 5 from 8 from the field, and for the Adelaide Lightning, it's Laura Hodges with 6. Turnovers is 7-5.
So it looks, everything seems to be reasonably even, except for
The score, which is now 40-14 now.
And Gabe Richards, of course, back in the Bendigo list as a starter. She of course had a little bit of an injury cloud there a week or so ago.
And Andrew, the difference in this game, in that game, is the shots. 56% by Bendigo. Adelaide shooting at 22%. You can't do that against the defending champs on their home court.
No, you can't do it against any team, really.
That's very true. So last quarter underway. Now this quickly run through in the WNBL score at the moment. 51-22 now in favour of Bendigo over Adelaide. And interesting, I know we harped a little bit more about Adelaide in today's game, but WNBL, sorry,
Yep.
WNBL wise at the moment, Adelaide are 2-8 at the moment. Well, they're going to make it 2-9 now, and in the NBL they are 3-8. So in total they've won 5 games out of 17.
Yeah. So the you know, what did Queen Elizabeth say? It was her annabilis horribilis or whatever it was, her horrible year. This is going to be another one of those for the Adelaide fans and the 2 teams there.
And they're both proud clubs, both of them.
They certainly are. They certainly are. But they, you know, look, I would look to them getting back there again. The thing that everybody forgets is that both in the NBL and the WNBL, particularly this season, the quality of the games has been fantastic. Any team can beat any of the other teams on a given day. And now we're getting towards halfway through the season. We're starting to see a bit more of a shakeout of it. Certainly Perth and the Breakers are sitting quite comfortably at the top of the ladder in the men's.
Yep.
Bendigo and Townsville also in the women's. But, you know, on any day, any of the teams can get up there. Wollongong in the Hawks.
Yeah, 2-12 at the moment.
2-12, but they've been pushing teams every game. You know, a few bad losses, but then they turn around, come out again, and Gordy somehow he does this every year. Somehow they turn around and they're playing well again. You know, so.
And obviously the United team now 6-5 at the moment. They've got Townsville tomorrow afternoon at the Hisense Arena. And even though Chris Yancey only lasted 1 game, but whoever the replacements, did a great job so far.
Well, that's DMAC, of course.
Yes.
He's a bit of basketball royalty here in Australia, along with the Gazers themselves and so on. But look, the experiment that is Melbourne United seems to be turning out. Barlow is starting to produce. Kickett has been, I think Kickett has been quite outstanding. Still, a lot of people in around Melbourne aren't quite convinced, but he's certainly good there. McRae is starting to play more of a team game rather than an individual game.
Yep.
And Dennis is finally starting to get back into things and getting over the year off with the Achilles injury he had and the earlier injury this season as well. So there was a great article in the paper about Dennis during the week. I think Roy Ward might have been the person that wrote that. And I look forward to seeing a lot more of Dennis as the main man, particularly as McRae, of course, is away at the moment.
Correct, of course. At the moment, ladder Breakers are 9-3, Perth 9-3, 8-4 Cairns, Melbourne 6-5, and Sydney are 5-5, and everyone else is sitting outside the 50% mark. I don't think that actually will change anytime soon, unless the only team might be in a bit of strife might be Cairns.
Cairns I think is looking to lose their position on the ladder. They're still got, because they started so well, they've got a nice little buffer there to some of the other teams. But my betting is that they'll probably end up around the 5th or 6th mark of the group. Wollongong, I think they're going to struggle now to get off the bottom.
Yeah, they are.
But
2-12.
But and Adelaide, hey.
Well, they can still escape it. They're 3 games behind. Well, they're 3 games behind the 36ers. Well, they're in the must-be position than the Lightning is at the moment.
They certainly are. Anyway, we have to sign off.
Correct.
So thank you for staying online, watching Falcons TV, and online to listen to Smash FM, and maybe you've actually had a browser open on each feed. You've been listening twice to Smash FM.
Yes, correct. We got a doubleheader tomorrow, actually.
Doubleheader. Where are you tomorrow?
I'm going to Moe tomorrow. I'm going to hit the road down the Princess Highway to see Moe and Churchill, the 2 top teams in the women's, and of course The men's Churchill need to keep winning, and Moe are looking a very good team at the moment.
So as the crew here starts packing up the stadium, we'll sign off. Say goodnight to all of you, those of you in New Zealand. Thanks for being with us for this last game, home game from the Steeler Dome. And we may have the chance to catch up with you before the beginning of the Big V season, which is in March next year. So from Andrew Seabrook from Falcons TV and Will Taylor from Smash FM, a very good night to you all.